Hi, so we've got some equations here. We've got four equations. These are four of the many equations that have gone viral on Facebook and over the internet. It seems that people get different answers for these, have different ways of solving them. I can assure you that there's really only one correct answer for each of these. We're going to go over each of these, show you what the correct answer is, and then also show you how some people got some wrong answers, but why that method is wrong and why that answer is wrong. So let's take a look at these four. Let's take a look at all four of these problems together. The reason we're looking at them all together is because they all have to do with order of operations. So order of operations tells us what order to do things. So we use an acronym PEMDAS, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And that tells us, starting from here, what order we should do things in. However, we just don't go right down the list. There's an exception. These two things, multiplication and division, are at the same level, and addition and subtraction are at the same level. So when we go down the list, those two things have to be done at the same time. So what do we do if we have multiplication and division together? So if we had this example here is just multiplication and division, and we're saying that multiplication and division are at the same level. So how do we decide how to do this problem? Well, we just go left to right. So left to right, we would do this 3 times 4 first. Then we would do the 12 divided by the 6. Just working left to right and end up with 30. Same thing goes for addition and subtraction. I've got addition and subtraction all at the same level here. I'm going to go left to right. 8 minus 3 is 5. Left to right again, 5 plus 2 is 7. And get our final answer at 1. All right, so let's take a look at this first problem. So let's go down the list of order of operations. The first thing we always do is parentheses. So we're going to do these in the parentheses first. So we're going to get 8 divided by 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now this next step is where people go wrong. So the wrong answer is to take the 4 and the 2 and multiply them and get 8 divided by 8. And then that's going to equal 1. So the reason this is wrong to do is because division and multiplication are at the same level. This means the same as 8 divided by 2 times 4. I think some people get thrown off by the parentheses and think the parentheses need to be done first. But this, when we've got two things next to each other, it just means multiplication. So the 2 times the 4 is multiplication. We got a division at the same level, so we just got to work left to right. So 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4, and 4 times 4 gets us the correct answer, and the only correct answer of 16. So now let's talk about some of the wrong answers. So I've seen an answer that it's really ambiguous, that it can be either one, and that's because the argument goes that it's arbitrary just to go from left to right. Well, the whole purpose of the order of operations is to get rid of that ambiguity. It gives us a set of rules to follow so that we're all talking the same language and that we do get the same answer. That'd just be like saying there's no logical reason to read in English, there's no reason to read left to right. But if someone was reading right to left, they're not going to understand what I'm writing if I'm writing from left to right. Some people go about solving this by doing distribution. So they'll go like this and like this and go, okay, the 2 times the 2 gets me 4, plus the 2 times the 2 is 4. And then regardless of whether you do the plus plus first or the divided by first, either way you're not going to get the right answer. So even if now you follow the right order, 8 divided by 4 is 2, plus 4, and you get 6. So even though we distributed correctly, we still have chosen to do multiplication before division without going left to right on it. Some people say that you get two different answers for this based on which different acronym you use for PEMDAS. So in the United States, we mostly use PEMDAS. But in Australia, India, and UK, they're more typically going to see something BODMAS. So instead of parentheses, they've got brackets. These two things mean the same thing. Exponents and orders, that's the same thing as well. But then you'll notice that division and multiplication are switched, and that's where some people say that if you use one compared to the other, you'll get different answers. But in both cases, multiplication and division, even though they're written in different order, in both cases, we do multiplication and division at the same level, and that will result in the same answer. And let's see how a calculator does with a problem like this. And let's put it in and see if we get the right answer. And we do. So the calculator has the order of operations built right into it, and so it does the same rules that we just were talking about. Okay, let's take a look at our next problem now. The next problem is not as complicated as far as order of operations go. We got a minus, a division, and a plus. So order of operations says we're going to do the division first. But the trick comes in how we evaluate this. People look at this quickly, and they'll come up with a 1 if they look at that quickly. All right, but if we take an analysis of this, when we divide by a fraction, if you remember, we can change that to multiplication and multiply by the reciprocal. So 3 times 3 over 1 is going to equal 9. So this actually evaluates to 9. Now let me show you pictures that'll hopefully convince you a little more of that. So we're going to compare it just to a regular division of 12 divided by 4. So if I was to restate that a different way, if I was to say, how many 4s are there in 12? Well, here's a 4, here's a 4, and here's a 4. So there are 3 4s in 12. So that's just another way of looking at division. So same problem over here. How many 1/3s are there in 3? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 1/3s in 3. So 3 divided by 1/3 is another way to visually show that that gets us 9. So then once we have that solved, then it's fairly straightforward. So this becomes 9 minus 9 plus 1. Minus and plus are at the same level. So now we're just going to go left to right. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 0 plus 1 gets us 1. All right. The next two on our list are fairly straightforward compared to the ones that we just did. They just involve doing multiplication and division first. So on this one, we're going to do the multiplication and division first. 6 minus 0 plus 1. And then we just go left to right on the addition and subtraction. 6 minus 0 is 6 plus 1. And we get an answer of 7. The last problem with all the 7s, same thing. We're going to do division and multiplication first. So we're going to get 7 plus 7 divided by 7 is 1. 7 times 7 is 49. And now we just move left to right. 7 plus 1 is 8. 49 plus 8 is 57. And our final answer for this problem is 50. And there we have it. Okay, so now next time you see some equations like this, you should be all set to be able to solve it. Be guaranteed you have the right answer, and tell your friends that they have the wrong answer. Thanks for watching. If it's your first time here, please subscribe right over here. And if you like what you see and you want to see more, I've got another suggestion for you right over here. Thank you.